My sister walked away with a multi-million-dollar estate. Me, I got stuck with a junkyard. It's just trash, they laughed. But that trash turned into an $800 million fortune. And suddenly, nobody was laughing anymore. My name's Carter, and if you'd asked me a year ago, I'd have said I was cursed, life's punching bag. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't unlucky. I was just unknowingly sitting on the biggest long game of my life. Growing up, I was always the disappointment. My dad, Richard Holloway, built his business from scratch and believed greatness was in the bloodline. According to him, mine was defective. "You've got no vision, Carter," he'd say. "You think too small, that's why you'll never be great." Meanwhile, my sister Lisa could do no wrong. Her report cards got framed. My hard work barely earned a glance. By the time Dad died, I'd made peace with being the family letdown. But even from the grave, he wanted me to know my place. At the will reading, Lisa was showered with estates, investments, and houses worth millions. Me, the Holloway salvage yard, a junkyard. Lisa burst out laughing. "Perfect, Carter, king of the trash heap." Even the lawyer cracked a smirk. I should have felt humiliated. Instead, I just stared at the papers, because what nobody knew, not even me, was that my so-called pile of junk was about to change everything. That afternoon, I drove to the salvage yard, half expecting to find a monument to my father's contempt. Rusted cars, broken appliances, a shack barely holding itself together. Yep, it was exactly how I remembered. A final middle finger from Dad. I kicked a hubcap across the dirt, muttering under my breath, when a gravelly voice called out, "Didn't expect to see a Holloway here." It was Rick, the junkyard manager. He'd been here since I was a kid, greasy, chain-smoking, and loyal to the place. "Well," I sighed, "apparently I own this dump now." Rick laughed. "Guess that makes you my new boss." The word boss hit strange. I hadn't planned on keeping the place. Honestly, I was ready to sell and walk away, but the memory of Lisa's smug laughter burned in my chest. "What's this place worth?" I asked. Rick smirked. "As is? A couple $100,000, tops, but there's more here than meets the eye. People toss out valuable stuff without realizing it. One guy found an old arcade machine worth $10,000. Another bought a broken vending machine and pulled out $2,000 in quarters." I leaned back, thinking, selling would have been easy, but easy wasn't enough, not this time. Not after Lisa walked away with everything and expected me to disappear. "No," I said finally, "I'm staying. I want to see what's really here." Rick grinned. "Now that's interesting." And that's where everything changed. I threw myself into the junkyard. I wasn't looking for anything specific, just something. Anything to make this feel less like being robbed by my own family. I spent days digging through busted toolboxes, broken appliances, and dusty crates. I found a rusted Rolex, probably fake, a stack of vintage Playboys, and an old typewriter that probably belonged in a museum. Junk, time wasted. Then, on day 5, I found the real thing. I was rifling through an ancient filing cabinet when something caught my eye at the bottom, a small silver external hard drive, scuffed and crusted with dirt. It looked like it belonged in 2003. On impulse I brought it inside, dusted it off, and plugged it into an old computer. For a minute nothing happened, just a flickering cursor. Then a folder appeared, BTC_wallet_backup, BTC, Bitcoin. My heart started to pound. I opened it and saw a text file named wallet_key, a long, ugly string of letters and numbers, a private key. My hands went numb. I copied the key, pasted it into a blockchain explorer, and watched the page load. Balance, 12,000 BTC. I sat there while my brain ran slow motion math. 12,000 Bitcoin. At the market rate that day, roughly $800 million. I couldn't breathe. The numbers sat on the screen like a laugh. Lisa had her estates and yachts. I had a junk heap, and buried in that heap was more money than any of them could imagine. For a long, dizzy minute I simply stared. It felt impossible. I refreshed the page a dozen times. The balance didn't blink. It didn't disappear. It was real. The office air suddenly felt thin. I pushed back from the desk, rubbed my face, tried to slow my breath. This wasn't just a windfall, it was dangerous. That kind of wealth draws attention. Stupid moves could end badly. I needed a plan. First on the list, contain information. Rick had watched me pull the drive from the cabinet. He didn't know what it was, but curiosity could be lethal. I shoved the drive into my pocket and walked out. Rick was leaning on an old pickup, a cigarette hanging from his lip. "Find anything good?" he asked. "Old electronics," I said, keeping my face flat. "Gonna see if any of it works." Rick snorted. "Most of it's dead. Good luck." I let him think he was right. "I might sell the place," I added, casually. "Get whatever I can." He glanced at me. "Thought you said you were gonna look for value." "Turns out there might be some," I said. That night I didn't sleep. My head ran through every worst-case scenario: hackers, crooked cops, anonymous threats. I could see the headlines. I had to cash out carefully, not one big transfer, but a slow, cautious melt that wouldn't set off alarms. By morning I had a plan and a number to call. "Family disappointment," said the voice on the other end. Max, my college roommate and the guy who'd been obsessed with crypto since 2012. He'd cashed out early and been living the retired at 30 life for years. "Max," I said, "I need help." There was a pause. "You sound weird. What's up?" "I found a Bitcoin wallet." He laughed. "Like $5? 12,000 BTC. Silence, then a string of profanity. "Don't touch it," he snapped. "If you move that much at once, every exchange and regulator on Earth will sniff you out." "Yeah, I figured," I said. "First, send me the public key. Don't send the private key. I'll check it." He went quiet again, doing the math. "If this is real, Carter, holy shit." "Not bad for the Junkyard King," I said. 2 days later Lisa called. I almost ignored it, but I remembered her laugh at the wool reading and picked up. "How's my favorite Junkyard King?" she cooed. I let a smile creep in. "Rolling around in trash, living the dream." She offered to help sell it. All syrupy concern. I told her no, that I wanted to keep it. "Sell it," she said. "Don't embarrass yourself." "Why do you care?" I asked. "You got everything." Her tone shifted. "Because you make bad decisions." I leaned back and laughed. Maybe my decisions are finally paying off. Nobody knew. Not Lisa, not Dad's old coterie, not even Rick. But once that secret left me, everything would change. People would show their faces. I'd learned the hard truth: money doesn't change you, it reveals others. Max and I spent the next days like field surgeons, securing the wallet, splitting holdings into cold storage, creating a trust that wouldn't point back to me, and planning a slow, staggered cash out. Every transfer would be a chess move, careful, measured, and invisible to hungry eyes. Step 1, secure the coins. Step 2, set up the legal scaffolding. Step 3, cash out without making noise. Simple in theory, deadly if you slipped up. I started small, a few $100,000 here, a couple hundred there, just enough to grease the wheels without raising alarms. By the end of the first month, I had $10 million tucked neatly into offshore accounts, quiet, invisible, untouchable. And my family? Completely in the dark. At least for now. It didn't take long before Lisa sniffed something out. At first it was just more calls than usual, her voice coated in sugar. "Hey, Carter, how's my favorite little brother?" Little brother, the same sister who used to treat me like lint on her designer jeans, was suddenly playing nice. I let her think I was still the clueless failure she'd always loved to stomp on. Then one day, she slipped. "So, I was thinking," she said, trying too hard to sound casual, "that junkyard of yours, it's not still for sale, is it?" Bingo. I smiled into the receiver. "Oh, I don't know, Lisa, I'm actually starting to like the place." Silence, then a sharp inhale. "Carter, be serious." "Oh, I am serious." I spun a gold coin between my fingers, enjoying the game. "I've even put in some renovations. You wouldn't believe what people throw away these days." Her voice dropped cold. "What's going on?" I chuckled. "Why, Lisa, worried I finally figured out how to make something of myself?" She scoffed. "Please, you couldn't run a lemonade stand." "Maybe, but I just bought my third property this month, so you might want to rethink that." Dead silence. "You're lying." I laughed softly. "Am I?" That was the moment she knew something had shifted. She could smell the power slipping from her hands. By the time I'd moved my first $50 million, things got entertaining. Lisa pulled up to the junkyard in person, fuming behind a polished smile. She stepped out of her Porsche, heels clicking, sunglasses perched like armor, but her grip on her purse betrayed her nerves. Carter, she said smoothly, we need to talk. I leaned against the hood of a rusted Chevy. Do we? Cut it out. Wow, I grinned. That's quite a way to greet your favorite little brother. Her nostrils flared. You're broke. You're supposed to be broke. I raised a brow. Funny, my bank account disagrees. She studied me, eyes narrowing, then her lips curved into a smirk. Ah, so you sold the junkyard. I knew you'd cave. I barked out a laugh. Lisa, do you really think some real estate deal got me this rich? Her smirk wavered. Then what did? I just smiled. Wouldn't you like to know? And there it was, the crack in her confidence. Lisa hated not being in control, and right now, she was spinning. Dad left you garbage, she snapped. If you suddenly have money, then. Guess I found treasure in the trash, I said, shrugging. Her jaw tightened. If this is illegal. I laughed so hard it echoed across the yard. Oh, now you care about my safety? She exhaled sharply, her voice low and urgent. Just tell me what's going on. I tilted my head, savoring her frustration. Nah. Her mask finally cracked. You're such a child. You'll burn through it in a year. You're still the same pathetic failure you've always been. I smiled wider. Maybe, but I'm also the richest person in this family now. That shut her up.